All right, I'm going to approach this one a little bit differently. I'm going to start with a preform. It's a little bit thick, but I'm going to notch it. I am going to use the two tools I've been using lately, which is this notch-o-matic gizmo and a needle file with diamonds on it. It'll work on stone and glass. All right, I'll use these two tools, plus I may use this to start the notching, but I want to try to stick. Well, I am going to use this to start the notches and maybe to fix a few spots. But for the most part, I'll use these two. So this will be only notching. Straight into just notching. Because I've had requests in the past from people that ask me, tell me everything I don't know how to ask for with notching. And obviously they're having trouble with notching, but they don't know what to ask for to improve their notching. Right? So it seems like a simple question. Just tell me everything you know and everything that I don't know. Yeah. I will tell you everything. I'll try to tell you everything that you don't know to ask. And everything that you don't know that I do know. I'll try to keep that in mind. And I'll just keep this only notching. Also keep in mind that I'm going to be making a new beginner series of videos, which will also include notching. One of the first things when notching is to pick a stone that notches well. Yeah. So how do you determine that? You get a flake and you notch it. Don't notch the real thin part of the flake. Notch the pretty thick part. See if it'll actually notch well. If it's very crunchy, it may be you that you're just a beginner, or it may be the stone. Chances are it's both. Pick up stone that you can notch fairly well without crunching it. You might not get very deep, right? But as long as it's clean, you know it's going to be good stone, right? That's one way to tell. If it pops out flakes cleanly without too much crushing, it'll be good. Now, if you are so new that you can't even do that, get some stone from someone that knows the stone and says it's good. All right? Half the battle is the stone. It has to be conducive to notching, especially if you're new. You want to know that it's you that's the problem and not the stone. If you're knapping something that doesn't cooperate, you don't know the difference between your lack of ability and the stone's uncooperativeness. You don't know the difference. You're going to blame it all on yourself, which is not productive. Okay? Next, start with something thin. Now, this one's not thin. Let's see. What does thin mean? Put a definition on that. What do you mean by thin? Okay, well, let's do the width to thickness ratio. 44 millimeter by 7. So 6 to 1. Start 6 to 1 or better. 7 to 1, 8 to 1, 9 to 1, and so forth. Don't be thicker than 6 to 1, or try not to be thicker, or the thickness ratio that's worse than 6 to 1, like 5 to 1 or 4 to 1. You don't want it to be really thick. I typically can knap a stone down to 6 to 1 without even measuring it. It's just by default. And a lot of artifacts are this dimension as well. Okay. Thin stone, good stone. Good tools, number 3. The 16 penny nail in an oak dowel. The best tools are the cheapest tools that you can make yourself and make plenty of without breaking the bank. These oak dowels, yeah, they might be a little pricey at the 1-inch level, but you can also get a broomstick or something like hickory. It's got to be tough wood because it'll split. if you don't get tough wood, right? And this is just 16 penny nail. They're not expensive. File it down. Don't hammer it because it changes the consistency of the steel. And you won't know if it's you or the consistency of the steel that's the problem. So use what I'm using. I don't let it get, or I don't hammer it down and let it get work hardened. Right? I file it so it stays the same softness all the time, every time, with everything that I make out of these 16 penny nails. Okay. And next, you can get yourself one of these spring-loaded notchomatic tools. You can get other notchers that are for use vertically, like this. Just look around and get the tool that you want to work with. All right. I'll be working with these tools. Now, another thing, the inside of the notch is an edge. If you can't knap an edge like this, you will not be able to knap an edge like this. Work on knapping regular edges and don't do any notches in the beginning. When you can knap an edge well to where there's no crushing, you can probably start notching without getting crushing. Okay? If you're crushing the edges, you will crush the notches. You won't get anywhere. All right. What else you might not know what to ask for? In the comments section, if I forget something, just ask, where do you get the stone for free? You get it for free, good stone, at Knappings. I have a Knapping list by state in every video now. It's a pinned comment. It's not in the video. It's down below in the comment section as a pinned comment. And some of the dates are 2023. That's not a typo. Those are the last year's dates. I don't have, in many cases, the current 2024 dates. As they come up, they will post. These people who are holding these Knappings will post the new 2024 dates. Okay, as they come up, as they figure out what dates they want to hold a Knapping. A lot of them still don't have 2024 dates because they don't know when they're going to hold it. It's going to be around the same area or the same time frame. A lot of them just don't know yet. Okay, it's not a typo. Those are last year's dates. But it gives you an idea who's holding the Knappings, so you can be looking at your schedule and planning accordingly. Okay. It will be around the same time frame in most cases. Now, the other thing about notching, I have a lot of videos where I notch, so take notes. I number each one of my videos. Write the number of the video down and write a note. It has a notching section in it where I'm doing notching. If you cannot see what I'm doing, write it in the comments section. I can't see what you're doing. And I will try to show you a close-up. If you don't know, you can push on the screen of the phone and zoom in to what I'm doing to get a closer view. Okay, you might not know to ask that. You can zoom in on the video to get a closer look. I don't have to zoom in. I used to try to zoom in all the time. I found out that I can't keep it in frame very easy, but you can zoom in and I don't have to. Yeah. So how do you use this thing? I just use it at a 45 or more, between 70 degrees and 45 degrees. I don't punch it straight down. I don't punch it at a slight angle. It's between 45 degree angle and 70 degree angle or something like that. Okay. I vary it depending on how much contact I'm making with the bottom of the notch. If I'm not making good contact at this angle, I'll raise it up, and sometimes it seats well. Wherever it seats well, that's the angle I use. It varies. The trick is it's got to seat well and maintain contact. Same with the pressure flaker. It's got to seat well and maintain contact, just like on the edge. You don't want no premature flakeration on the edge or the notch, because you'll stall it. You can stall the edges by crushing them a lot, and then you have to grind it and grind it and grind it, and then try to flake again. Same with a notch. That's why sometimes it'll stall and you go, I don't know what to do, and you have to grind and grind and grind with a file to get it to where it's sharp again inside the notch. Or sometimes you grind the edge until it's sharp again. And yeah, you can use a file on the edge to make it sharp again. I say sharp, but I shouldn't use the word sharp because it confuses people. I thought you said you're going to grind off the sharp edges. Now you're grinding in the sharp edges? It's subjective. Okay, what that means is it can't be very sharp, but it also cannot be very dull. So it has to be between very sharp and very dull. Okay? The edge has to be between very sharp and very dull. It cannot be very sharp, it cannot be very dull. It has to be somewhere in between. Okay? It's on the sharper side in many cases than the duller side. Some cases you need to dull it a lot, but it's never going to be extremely dull. It's got to have some amount of fragility, or it's not going to do anything. You're going to hit it and hit it and hit it. And since it's so dull, it's not going to do anything. It can't be so dull that it's not going to do anything. Okay. Some people don't know to ask that, or don't know that that's a thing. Can it be so dull that it won't do anything? Yes. Unless you hit it with the force of a stick of dynamite. Yeah, it'll do something. It'll break the whole thing. Okay. So, I'm just tapping very lightly. And the biggest part of Flintknapping is doing it yourself. Yep. Get in there and start working with the stone. Watch the video or have it on in the background. But you can't be thinking about it because your thought experiment will not equal reality when it comes to Flintknapping, because this is a game of chance. It's not a game of procedure, it's a game of chance. Just because you know all the rules doesn't mean you can Flintknap, which is different from something else where you follow the instructions on how to use a telephone. It tells you to push the buttons in a certain order and you'll be able to make the call. Speak into the microphone after you connect with your party. Easy. You can know all the rules in Flintknapping and then sit down and try to do it, and you cannot do it. It takes practice. If you don't know, you might not know to ask that. And yeah, that's a thing. It is not a game where it's procedure only. You have to practice it. And everybody will adapt to it differently. Some people will adapt to it very similarly. Some people will not. When I teach people how to Flintknap, I try to cater to how their style is developing. Some people say, I don't want to use nothing but copper because they say copper is best, and I'm the kind of person that uses only the best. Okay, fine. I don't care. It's not going to hurt my feelings to use only copper. I will use steel, I will use brass, I will use bronze, I will use antler. I will use anything. I will use screwdrivers and pliers to make arrowheads. But that's just me. And I'm not going to make fun of you if you use those tools. I will make fun of you if you become annoying and say, it's not real Flintknapping unless you use blah, blah, blah. Then I'll make fun of you. It's not Flintknapping unless you use blah, blah, blah. This is a ridiculous statement. Yep. If you're getting results, that's Flintknapping. Okay. So how deep am I going to go with these notches? I don't know. And why am I not explaining everything? Because it's just a matter of seating the tool on the edge, inside the notch, activating the spring, pulling back on it, letting it go. I don't pull back more than that much. I think that's like a 3/4 of an inch. Sometimes even less. Depending on the size of the flake. The farther you pull back, the bigger the flake's going to be. Usually. Right? That's just a rule of physics, but not always. Sometimes you can pull it way back and get just a little bit of crumbs. But in general, the more force you put into it, the bigger the flake, or the bigger the mistake. The bigger the flake, or the bigger the mistake. It rhymes. Luckily, it's a good rule to know. The more force you put into it, the bigger the flake, or the bigger the mistake. And as it gets thicker, you're going to need to put more force into removing these flakes, which is counter to what should be happening, because the more force you put into a delicate item, it gets more delicate as these notches go in. The more the chances are it will break. So there's that. It's a delicate balance that you've got to figure out how to negotiate, and you can only do that by feel and by practice. It's going to get more dicey the further in the notches go, and it's counter to what you're trying to do, because the thicker it gets, the further you go in, the more force you need. Yeah. That's why you're having trouble with it. Now, if it starts to stall like it's starting to do right now because it's getting thick, I'll break out the file and create a better edge. Better means a little more delicate than what you got. If it's too tough, you're not going to be able to get a flake unless you use a lot of force. And a lot of force is something that will break this easily. You don't want to break it in the bad way. You want to break it in a good way. Okay. Let's see. I'm not going to show you every bad situation and how to eliminate the problem in every bad situation. You'll have to watch a lot of videos. But for the most part, what you do is just try to use the minimum at first as far as force goes. And if it's not doing anything, use a little more force. Still not doing anything. Use a little more force. Still not doing anything. And you're sick of it, just use enough force to break it. So you do gain knowledge when it breaks. You gain the knowledge of the limits of the stone. So you know, okay, I can use less force than I just used. That's useful, because I use a whole lot of force. If I just back off a little bit, maybe it'll work. Chances are, yep, it'll work. Just back off a little bit from the maximum amount of force. Chances are it will work. But again, it's a game of chance, so it may not do exactly what you want. Now I'm being a little bit too gentle with this, and I'm getting short flakes. It's not a good thing to get short flakes when notching. You're supposed to get good pop-outs. Good pop-outs without ruining everything. But I'm taking little bitty hits just in case. But I should be using more force. Yeah. I'm starting to stall. See, I'm getting step fractures on the inside of the notch. That's not good. Yeah. So when that happens, I'm just going to create an angle in there on this side. It lowers the edge toward that side, and you can pop one out, hopefully, on that side. Okay? Now I'm starting you off with these tools because the human brain likes success. So if you start with some success, if you got tools that'll help you succeed, your brain likes it, you'll continue to try to do it. You won't get burnt out. As you get better, you can ditch the file, ditch the cheater tool, and start using antler or bone or other or thin slices or thin flakes. I say slices, but thin flakes to notch. You can use stone to notch stone. You can do all kinds of stuff with stone flakes besides cutting meat. Okay? But that's later. And I'm not going to show you that how to do that on video because it's a pain. It's not easy. So let's see if I can do this. Let's see if I can unstall this because it's stalling pretty bad. I can unstall it, but I can also break it. It's easy to install it if you don't mind breaking it. Yeah. Just keep doing this until you get an edge that's delicate enough to flake. It worked a little bit, but see, I'm getting these dangerous cracks. That's a radial crack. That kind of crack can open up and go right across the whole piece. Yeah. And there's no bending. There's no bending in there that creates those. That's just a lot of force. Excessive force creates those radial cracks. Bending also does create radial cracks, but as you can see, there's no bending. That's solid, and I still have a radial crack. So radial cracks are not caused by bending. They can be, but they're not only caused by bending. Voila. That to me felt kind of lucky. But, you know, persevere. Yep. Now we go to the other side. See if we can get something to pop out. Something to pop out. All right, so new guys, yeah, I do recommend getting one of these. It just makes your life a whole lot easier when you're learning how to do this. You can challenge yourself later. Okay? And this is not only for beginners. Advanced snappers want to take a break sometimes too. They don't want to always be sweating all the time, especially if you want to make something in a hurry or you got a project and you want to try to make some money. So you maximize the output, minimize the effort. And these cheater tools will help you do that. If you want to see me crunching notches with other tools, just go back to one of my other videos that you see an arrowhead that has notches in it. And then there's a little red dot. You touch the screen and there's a line that appears at the bottom of the screen with a red dot over here on the left. Just scroll the red dot until you see me start notching, and then you can watch the video. Okay, in case you didn't know. You can also scroll through using that little slider button to get to the point in the video where I'm notching on my other videos. Okay? So you don't have to sit there the whole time like a dummy. Alright. You can advance right to where you want to see. And you won't be a dummy in the comment section going, "Your videos are too long. It took me 5 hours just to get to one video where I could see notching." Did you know about the slider button? Crickets. Crickets and more crickets. Because, yeah, they didn't know about the slider button. Okay. What's the slider button? I missed it. I was out making a sandwich. Somebody else tell him. I'm not going to tell him. Yeah, I'm still coughing. I don't know what I caught. Back in the day before we were virusly challenged, I used to call it the lingering. Yeah, I think the flus can last up to 2 weeks or more. And I think that's what I got. It lingers. I got something that's lingering and lingering. Okay. And yeah, I took a nap earlier today. A good nap. I feel a lot better. So in between my yapping, you can see that I'm just carrying on with the punch work. This is vertical punch work. Take it little by little. And try not to bite off more than you can chew. If you stop at a reasonable point, on your point, you'll be better off. Like I could stop right there and say, yep, good enough. It didn't break. So success. The notch is successful. It didn't break. Even this notch is successful because I didn't break anything. But you say, no, I want a long, narrow notch through thick material with not much effort. Yeah. And like 2 weeks practice. That's it. Yeah, I know. You want something that defies the laws of physics. It's not going to happen. I've seen it happen on the YouTubes. I've seen it. The guys in India are doing that. I know you've seen it. It's because those guys in India have made thousands of arrowheads. I'm talking literally thousands. I'm not exaggerating. What does that mean? Why is that relevant? Because of the word that begins with P. Practice. They've got a ton of practice. So they can do long, narrow notches on thick material with very little effort and very little time. It's practice that gets you there. They didn't start that way automatically. And if you sat there with them with the same tools that they got, they're sitting on the dirt floor with the same tools they have with the same material, and they're showing you how to do it, and they're holding your hand and they're telling you everything you don't know what to ask for, you're not going to be able to do it. Yeah. Believe it or not. Unless you practice it. You cannot explain practice. You're just going to have to do it. Yeah. That's it. How do I know all this? Where did I get this knowledge of knowing what you won't be able to do? Because I've sat with many people in the same circumstance over and over. Can you show me how to do it exactly and tell me everything I don't know? Yeah, I'll tell you everything you don't know. And I sit with them and they try to do it. And guess who are the ones that end up doing it quickly and getting the hang of it really fast. It's a pop quiz. Who learns the fastest? The one who's never done it before. The children, mostly. Because they don't have old habits. Yeah. They don't have any habits. You're directing them to do something fresh. So they're not encumbered by old muscle memory. The children learn the fastest, both because of the condition of their brain, which absorbs everything. Also, they've never done it before, so you don't have to contend with all the baggage, all the previous muscle memory, which is baggage. Now I've taught experienced nappers too. Some of them have so much baggage they can't see straight. They really can't understand what I'm doing or what I'm telling them. Not that they don't want to. It doesn't register because it doesn't make sense to their muscle memory. It just, they fumble with it. They got to relearn the pathways in the brain. The brain's telling them to go one way. I'm telling you to go another way. And there's a traffic jam in the brain. They can't do it. Not right away, anyway. No, there's prodigies out there that can pick it up no matter what. I've been doing this 30 years, and I sat down with you, and in 5 minutes, I learned. Yeah, I know. I know you're out there. In fact, I learned faster than 5 minutes. I learned it in 2 minutes and 10 seconds. Yep, it's true. There are those out there. But generally speaking, it's going to be hard for you if you've got baggage. Yep, napping baggage. Some guys, all they need to do is see me doing this on video, and they go, I can do that. I know I can do that, and I sit down. All right, I can't do it right away, but I know I can do it, and they just sit there until they do it. Could take 5 minutes, could take 5 hours, but they'll sit there until they can do it, and that's it. Easy peasy. Just by watching a video, they can pick it up enough to sit down and practice in the correct way. Okay. So I don't really need to tell you too much. I really don't need to explain to you all the angles and forces and stuff, because that will come naturally to you as you practice. You just need to know the general look of how it's going. And keep in mind that the things I said in the beginning, good stone, good tools, not too thick, not too thin, and be aware you're going to have some baggage if you're already experienced. But time and practice will solve many problems. All right. If you're brand new, welcome to the addiction. It can get addictive. Oh, yes. You don't think so? I can quit napping anytime I want. Yeah. Most nappers, they quit only after they've had extremely frustrating episodes, and they just throw up their hands and go, it's not for me. Not for me. I'm just going to make my arrowheads out of steel and bone. That's it. And that's what happens. All I wanted is some hunting points. Primitive hunting points for the true hunting experience of our ancestors. Yeah. As an example. They don't all say that. Okay, so if I'm smart, I stop there, because anything further I can tell is going to start pushing my skill level into an area where I don't have enough skill. Right? I'm going to have to use a lot more force, so I would stop there. half inch deep. Okay, but if you want to go further, it's the same technique. Same old. I don't want to go further on the next video because I actually want someone to have this. I don't want to break it. If I wanted to show you how to go deeper than this, I would use a bigger piece. Wider. Because going further than this, I'm going to break something. And I want someone to have this. All right. So there you go. Just not, hopefully it wasn't too much talking on this particular video. I know I talked a lot in the beginning. I didn't teach you everything I know about notching, but hopefully what I didn't tell you, you could see with the video. You know, video is worth 1,000 words, hopefully. Okay. And that's it.